I want to start this episode by asking you an honest question. Are you really being effective with your life? Are you getting what you really want? Are you living the way you want to live? Or are you just being busy? Hi, I'm Liam Naden, and welcome to my podcast, Let Yourself Off the Hook. As someone who has studied success for decades, I have found the formula for achieving your dreams and goals, and it's all to do with how you use your brain. Each week on my show, I will provide you with the tools, resources, and expertise to utilize your brain to its ultimate potential and remove the barriers to your success. And as you will discover, true success in every area of your life only comes when you let yourself off the hook. I want to start this episode by asking you an honest question. Are you really being effective with your life? Are you getting what you really want? Are you living the way you want to live? Or are you just being busy? You know, one of the things I learned the hard way about life was that you really have to be honest about where you are right now. Because you're never going to get to where you want to be if you don't know where you're starting from, if you don't know where you are right now. I mean, imagine going into a travel agency and saying, I want to go to Rome in Italy. Well, the first thing the travel agent is going to say was, well, certainly we can get you there, but we need to know where you're starting from, because where you're starting from is going to make all the difference as to how you actually get there. So being really honest with ourselves where we are right now is one of the most important things we can do if we want to really succeed in our life. And the question I have for you is, are you busy, but are you effective? Are you really making progress to where you want to go? Are you moving significantly with measurable progress to where you want to be, to achieving the goals that you have for your life, to reaching your dreams? And one way to do this is to think back even just a year ago and ask yourself, what was I doing then and what am I doing now? And what is the difference? Is there a difference? Am I doing the same things that I was doing a year ago? And am I getting the same results? Am I not actually making any progress? Is there not really any significant difference between where I was a year ago and where I am now? Do you still have the same problems, the same struggles, the same things in your life that you're not happy with? On the other hand, do you feel that you have made progress? Do you feel that your life is more in balance? Do you feel happier? Do you feel more fulfilled than you were a year ago? Do you have more freedom, more time to do things that you really enjoy? So it's really important not only to ask these questions, but to be honest with yourself with the answers. And the thing is that for most people who I ask these questions to, and when I say, are you happier, more fulfilled, have you made progress, are things better in your life than they were a year ago? Most people tend to say, well, not really. I am pretty much struggling with the same problems, doing the same things, but I've never been so busy. And so maybe I am making progress. And people justify their lack of progress by saying things like, well, I'm getting there. I will make progress. It's always darkest before the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm getting a lot of experience. I have all of these new skills. There are things I've learnt. And of course, nothing happens overnight. Everything takes time. And I sort of am enjoying the journey. But the problem with all of this, all of these answers, is they're really just justifications for staying stuck. And often we don't know what else to do. We're trying our best. We're doing everything we can think of. We're being motivated. We really want to solve our problems. We want to make massive progress in our life. And we're frustrated that it's not happening. So to keep ourselves going emotionally, we justify that all of our action, all of our busyness is a good thing. It's helping us. When the reality is, and we'll talk about this in this podcast, the reality is that this busyness is not only not helping you, it's probably what's keeping you stuck. So why is it that there's no virtue in being busy? And why do I say that busyness in itself is what's keeping us stuck? And in fact, it's what's keeping us from not being effective, from not getting great results in our life. Well, before we get into the reasons why being busy is going to block you from being effective in your life, let's think about why we all feel this need to be busy. Well, society, in fact, has created a virtue out of being busy. We have this belief, this idea, that being busy is good and that somehow that it's effective. But if you really think about it, how many people do you know who are busy but not effective, but not happy, but not achieving their best? It's pretty well most people, isn't it? So here we all are, rushing around, being busy, thinking this is the answer, this is the way to be successful, but nobody is successful. Everybody's stressed. Everybody's unhappy. Everybody's feeling frustrated. So somehow it doesn't make sense that being busy is the answer to achieving success and happiness in our life and removing the stress and problems. But think about how society is wired to believe that being busy is a virtue. I mean, we admire people who are busy. We compliment people for being busy. We say, wow, you're so busy. That's amazing. The amount of work that you get through, the things that you do in your life, it's incredible. And we tell others how busy we are, almost like it's a badge of achievement. Oh, I'm so busy. There's so much going on in my life, as if it's something people should admire us for. And of course, we think people do. And we have all these beliefs that have been wired into our brain about the virtue of being busy. So we think or believe, well, the way to get something is you have to work hard for it. You only deserve something, in fact, if you have worked hard for it. And if you haven't worked hard to get something, then you've probably cheated, or it's luck, or you don't deserve it if you haven't worked hard for it. And another belief is if we don't work hard for something, then we're not going to appreciate it. We're not going to be grateful that we have it when we get it. This badge of achievement that we put on ourselves, that there's a virtue in being busy, this gets in the way of so much in our life. How many times have you been in the situation where you've wanted to do a business deal with somebody or something on a personal level, and they've said to you, I'd love to help you, I'd love to do this, but I'm just so busy. It'll have to wait. I've got all these other things I need to do first, but I haven't forgotten you. I'll get around to it and it'll be great. It might be in a relationship. Your husband or wife says to you, why don't we go and do something special together? And you say to them, I'm too busy. I'm sorry. I'll get around to it. I would love to do it with you, but I've just got all of these things I have to do first. And the frustrating thing about this is that what happens is people leave the important things till the end. They don't do the important things because they're too busy, they think, doing other things that aren't making them effective. So instead of doing that business deal, instead of building that relationship with that business person, saying, yes, I'll help you do what you do, I'll cement our relationship, because I can see that that relationship could really benefit both of us. Instead of doing that, we put it on the back burner, we make excuses for not doing that, for not pursuing that opportunity, because we've got all this stuff we have to deal with and get out of the way in the meantime. But that stuff never goes away. That's the problem, isn't it? We never get around to the important things. So when you really think about it, there's no virtue in being busy. Being busy for the sake of it doesn't get you to where you want. It doesn't make you any more effective. You can be rushing around doing all these things, being busy, having your whole life filled with action and activity, and not really getting anywhere. And that's why it's so important to acknowledge that where you are now not only isn't where you want to be, but you're not getting any closer to where you want to be just by being busy. You haven't in the past, and you're never going to in the future. So we need a different approach. We need a way to become effective rather than busy. Now, I'm not suggesting here that we become lazy. Not being busy doesn't mean being lazy. We've all heard of the expression, you have to work smart, not hard. I think that's not true either. You have to work smart and hard to be effective. So it doesn't mean to be lazy. And in fact, not enough action is just as much of a problem as too much action. And both of these things, in fact, either not taking enough action or not taking enough of the right action, and taking too much action, they're actually two things that are motivated by the same thing, which is fear. When you take too little action, it's because you're afraid of making a mistake, doing the wrong thing, getting the wrong outcome, creating some unpleasantness in your life, or dealing with some uncertainty. And when you're taking too much action, when you're busy for the sake of it, it's also because of an underlying fear, or underlying fears, that you're not going to get what you want if you don't put in more effort, that you're not going to reach your destination, you're not going to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself, and you're going to look back on yourself and say, I didn't try hard enough, and that's the reason I didn't get to where I wanted to go. So I think the point is to realize that being busy is not what it's about. It's about being effective. It's about getting real results. And that's what we want in our life. We want results. We don't want the idea of working towards being happy and successful and reaching our goals. We want to reach our goals. We want to be happy and successful. And the great thing is, life is actually set up for us to be effective. And when we're busy, what we're really doing is interfering with our natural effectiveness, with our natural mechanism that's designed to ensure that we live the most effective life. So really what I'm getting at is that being busy, rather than being effective, that's only going to keep you stuck. Now why is that? Well, there are several reasons. And the first reason is quite simply it comes down to biology and the way life works on a natural level. How we, along with all other forms of nature, how we're biologically designed. And how we're biologically designed is dictated by what I call the law of natural efficiency. And what that means is that all of nature is designed, biologically, to get the maximum amount of result for the minimum expenditure of energy. Now this makes sense when you think about it from a survival perspective, because in the natural world, food might not always be available, so the organism, the animal, the creature, has to be able to conserve energy because it doesn't know when and where it's going to get another source of energy. So it needs to make sure it has the best results while conserving the most energy. And that means for us, that means being effective. It means not wasting energy just by being busy. The other thing that happens when we're busy is that when we're rushing around simply being busy, we clutter our minds. We can't see the big picture. We're in this mental state of not being present, of not really being able to focus on what's important. And that means to see the solutions to problems and the most effective things to do. When we're rushing around being busy and stressed and trying to cope with all of the things that are going on in our life, all the things that are happening around us and that we're creating, what we're doing is we're using this part of our brain called the survival brain, which is a reactive brain. It keeps us confused. It doesn't know anything other than just reacting to what's there in front of us. And we block this other part of our brain, our creative brain, which is where all of our intuition lies. It's where our awareness is, our imagination, our creativity, where we see opportunities from, where we see the right things to do at the right time. That's the part of our brain that we use when we have effective action, when we're doing the right things that really work, and when we're feeling in the flow, in the zone, being effective, being efficient. So when we're being busy, what we're really focusing on, because we have this mental confusion by using the wrong part of our brain, we're focused on the next thing rather than the right thing. And we're in a reactive state to react to things rather than respond and take right action. And often this means we engage in things that really are quite trivial, non-productive. And we feel like, well, we're getting things done, we're making progress, but we're really not. Our survival brain is telling us we're making progress, but we're not. Our creative brain, which is shut down in this state, if it was active, it would tell us you're not making progress. The truth is, you're not doing the right things, you're not being effective. So the whole goal of life, if we want to really live to our highest potential, is to live in harmony with the natural laws of who we are and how we operate, and to realize that our goal is to be effective, to find ways to really be effective in our life rather than just busy, rather than kidding ourselves that we're making progress when we're not. So how do we do that? How do we move from this constant state of busyness, stress, worry, action, trying to get things done, overwhelm? How do we move from that to being effective, to getting great results in our life, to being super productive, and to really getting to the state of feeling truly in control of our life and truly living our life purpose? Well, here are a few steps to take that I've found effective in doing this. The first step is simply what we talked about right at the beginning, and that's to acknowledge that you're stuck and you need to make a change. Acknowledge that you're not where you want to be. Where you are right now is not where you want to be. And acknowledge that you don't want to be stressed, you don't want to be busy, you don't want to be overwhelmed, but that you are. Acknowledge that you are stuck. That's the first step. The second step is to acknowledge simply that being busy isn't helping. To say to yourself, it's true. Me being busy, it's not helping. It's not getting me to where I want to go. My results are showing me that it's not helping. I'm no closer really to my goals, to where I want to be and to how I want to feel. I'm no closer than I was a year ago, or 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm not really any closer. That is the honest truth. And the next step, and this is an important one really, is to acknowledge what it is that's causing you to be busy rather than effective. And that cause is your fears. Acknowledge that it's fear that's causing you to stay stuck. And what are those fears? Well, there's lots of these fears that we have running around in our heads that keep us stuck. But when it comes to being busy and not effective, there are a few really powerful ones. And one is this belief that I'll waste my life if I'm not busy. I need to maximize every moment. I need to put in the maximum amount of effort. I need to be doing something in every moment. I need to be working towards my goals and what I want in every moment. I need to be trying to solve this problem in every moment. Because if I don't, I'm simply wasting my life. And that comes to the next belief. I won't achieve what I want if I don't work hard, if I don't stay busy, if I don't constantly look out for the next thing to do. Another fear we often have is, well, if I'm not doing something, I'm going to be bored. I won't know what to do. I won't be happy just doing nothing. I need to do something. Now, this need to do something we'll talk about shortly, but it's just a mental habit, this need to do something. And as we know, we can break habits, we can change habits. You don't need to be in this habit of needing to be busy. The other fear we might have, and remember these are usually subconscious fears, we're not even aware of them, which is why it's so important to start to become aware of them. Start to ask yourself, why am I staying busy? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid would happen or not happen if I wasn't busy? And this other belief that many people have, and I certainly used to have, is that if I'm not busy, I won't be admired and respected by other people. Other people will think I'm lazy. Or if I get good results without having worked really hard for it and being busy to get it, or what might appear that way, if I don't do that, then people are going to think I'm dishonest or not a nice person or devious. So we have to present this image of being busy because we think that otherwise people won't respect or admire us. And of course, we might have a fear that if we're not busy, we won't respect and admire ourselves. We'll think we're a fraud. We'll think we don't deserve good things to happen in our life. We won't deserve all of the things that we want. And if we get them, and if we haven't worked really hard for them, we won't appreciate them. So we have all of these fears, these beliefs rocking around in our head, telling us that it's good to be busy and it's bad not to be busy. But we need to recognize that these are just fears and none of them are true. They're what's keeping us stuck on this treadmill of busyness and not getting anywhere, just keeping us stressed and frustrated rather than fulfilled and happy. So now that we've done all this mental work, the next step is to look at our life and identify what it is that we're doing that's keeping us busy but not effective. What are all the trivial things, the things we fill our days, our time, and our thoughts with that really we don't need to do, that if we stopped doing, it wouldn't make a big difference? In fact, it probably wouldn't make a difference at all. Now, it could be in our business. It could be our habits of who we think we need to talk to every day or what we need to do, all of the business activities that we need to do. But maybe they're not that effective. Maybe they just keep us distracted or feeling that we're making progress, but they're not important. Really important to identify those things. Could be in our relationship, our marriage. We're doing all these things, we're staying busy, but it's not really helping our relationship. It's not really helping our marriage. You know, sometimes I talk to people who they plan these very elaborate trips with their spouse or their partner, and they think they put all of this effort in. Of course, it keeps them very busy planning this wonderful trip that they're going to take. And they take the trip, and it might be nice, but often it's the planning that was more enjoyable than the actual trip itself, the actual activity. And when you're in that situation, you really need to think, well, maybe if we just did something simple that didn't require any planning, that didn't keep me busy and preoccupied and wasn't a lot of work, maybe that would be just as much fun. Or it would achieve the same result, which is having a great experience with my spouse or partner and reconnecting or connecting with them, using that opportunity to connect with them on a deeper level, to use it as something that will enhance our relationship. So that could mean a walk on the beach or a walk in the forest, something spontaneous that doesn't require any of your time to plan, or very little, but might be just as effective and enjoyable for you both than planning an elaborate cruise or a trip or something exotic that might cost a lot of money and take a lot of time. Now, of course, that's not to say you shouldn't have great holidays if that's what you want, but we need to ask this question: could I also have an enjoyable holiday without all of that time and effort and money that it's going to take me to organize it? In other words, can I cut out some of the busyness from my life? And just in our daily life, think about how much we do that's keeping us busy, but it's just not effective. Checking our emails, talking to people, having long conversations that really aren't that meaningful or helpful. Maybe reading yet another book, trying to get some more information, watching more YouTube videos, trying to understand something more. I'm not saying any of these things are necessarily bad, but you have to say, are they good? Are they helping me? Are they helping me be effective, or are they just keeping me busy? And the next step is really to take some time out. Spend some time out of your day alone to reflect, away from distractions, away from your busy routine. And in that time, reflect on your life and ask some good questions. Ask all of the questions about the previous steps. What am I afraid of in my life? Why am I staying busy? And what can I cut out of my life that simply is keeping me busy and is based on fear of missing out or not having enough or having to do something? What can I cut out of my life to create some more space to allow me to be more effective, to allow me to come up with better ideas and better ways and more energy to be effective? And ask yourself things like, what are the most important things in my life? What do I really want? How can I keep what's important in my life in perspective? And the next step, really the last step, in this process is to start observing your busyness habit and changing it. And I've talked about in previous episodes about habits, but we know that habits take time to break. The first step is to recognize that your habit is not getting you to where you want. The second step is to identify what you need to do that will get you to where you want and start to change the behaviors from the old habit to the new habit. And it's going to take time, it's going to take a bit of thought and a bit of effort. It's probably going to take a bit of discomfort as you change. But changing from the busyness habit to the effective habit means starting to look at the things that you're doing that really are just keeping you stuck, just busy for the sake of it. So ask yourself that question, what am I doing that's just keeping me busy rather than helping me to be effective? And of course, stop doing those things. Change your habits. And begin to be more conscious about what you do and ask yourself all the time, is this helping me be effective if I do this or am doing this, or is it just keeping me busy and stuck? Now, the great thing is when you shift your focus, when you change your habit from being busy to being effective, remarkable things happen in your life because you open up your creative brain. You open up what is really the master part of your brain that knows how to get you everything you want and is designed to make sure that you do. But it can only do that when you're being effective and when you're not being busy, when you're not being cluttered with all of this stuff, when you're not being stressed, worried, afraid, and full of pressure all the time. That's not how nature works. It's not how success works in the natural world. So when you make this shift, you get better results, far more effective results, and you get them much more easily. It's when you say to yourself, wow, this is working. I feel in the flow. Things are going so well in my life. I'm making the right decisions. The right things are happening. So you actually achieve much more than you did. And you get what you really want in your life, which is that feeling of happiness, that fulfillment, where everything actually is working well. And it's all because you're living in the flow of nature rather than trying to struggle and fight against it. And ultimately, when you shift your life from struggle and busyness to flow and being effective, you become much more aware of who you really are, why you're here, your purpose in life. And you finally get to experience what life is all about, which is being the best that you can be.